I'll just start by telling just a little bit about myself. I have been covering the advisor technology space for more than a decade now. I had a couple of brief stints for just a few years with two different fintech startups, and also a stint as an editor or as an analyst for a market research firm. Now I'm back, and there's no shortage of things to talk about. There's been an awful lot of changes over this last decade, and whether it's you're talking about from a technology perspective, it can be either external pressures, sort of client expectations have increased dramatically over the years, largely based on developments in consumer technology. And it's not just the case of millennials and younger consumers who kind of expect things to work from everything from their cell phone to any piece of glass or tablet that they happen to be on. We're seeing now at the end of the boomer tail end that they're pretty sophisticated technology users themselves. And the interfaces that you had maybe 10 years ago really won't suffice. And most advisors are well aware of that, and constantly on a search for, well, what's the newest, greatest, what's going to help me be more efficient in my job. And we see an awful lot of startups in the space, that everything from point solutions to new platforms. Just 10 years ago, we saw pretty much a big race in terms of technology between the four major custodians, each working to come out with their own RIA platforms to service the needs and help retain advisors. Many of you have been on those or tried those, and they were connected through APIs, and to a certain extent, they were very successful, and many of you are on those. Some of you more than one, since most advisors tend to be multi-custodial. Now we see a lot of startups trying to make APIs work even better, partnering with custodians, and you see even some small startup custodians in the space that are specializing in technology. There's no shortage of things to talk about. There's an awful lot going on, and really that's what our sessions today are all about. And the first speaker, we're going to have a fireside chat with Molly Weiss, who's the head of product for a firm, that's now been sort of at the forefront of developing advisor technology now for 20 years. Hi, Molly. Welcome to the Inside Wealth event. How about you tell us just a little bit about your role at Envestnet?
Sure. Thanks for having me today, Davis. I'm glad to be here. I lead product for our wealth platforms. So I'm responsible for both our Tamarack platform and our institutional or enterprise platform. So I spend my days thinking about how advisors, RIA advisors, and broker-dealer advisors want to use technology to serve their clients.
Maybe you can start with just a little bit of what you see on the Envestnet Roadmap going forward.
Yeah, so we're certainly thinking about how to help advisors streamline their practices, how to help them be as effective as possible from a technology standpoint, and also how to deliver the right set of solutions to their clients. We know that clients want, to your point, they want to be served investment solutions and other solutions in the most digital way possible, but they're also, I think, looking for a lot more personalization, a lot more kind of custom solutions for advisors to provide to them. So we've been thinking a lot about the ways to best deliver that to advisors and their clients. And then we've really been working hard on you mentioned APIs. We've been working hard on our own API library. We announced OpenENV a couple of years ago. And so, we recognize that our ability to partner with other technology solutions that advisors might be using is really important. And so we've been thinking a lot about integration, and then also just within our own ecosystem, because of all of the acquisitions we've done over the last many years. We've got a broad set of tools that we want to deliver in a really seamless way to our advisors. So everything from data aggregation through Yodlee through to Money Guide, financial planning, and estate planning, through to our exchanges, which is something that we've been talking a lot about. So our insurance, credit, and now most recently our trust exchanges are something that we've been working really hard to deliver as a part of that seamless technology solution through to our advisors.
Can you talk about any of the metrics around those, how successful they've been, or which of those? Because I know there's several out now.
Yeah.
Have some seen a lot more traffic than others? What have you seen, especially over this last year, this period of the pandemic? I know a lot of things have changed, and the way advisors work, and the way that clients expect to hear from advisors, et cetera.
Yeah. So, we've gotten a lot of interest in our insurance exchange. I think thinking about income protection is obviously at the forefront. I think that that's definitely an outcome of COVID, really thinking about how to make sure that clients are prepared for unexpected changes in their financial situation. So the ability for an advisor to propose traditional investment solutions alongside, annuity or other kind of income protection solutions has been really at the forefront. So we've seen a lot of in particular, our broker-dealer clients wanting to solve for that, for their advisors, being able to deliver that kind of one-stop shop for both of those types of solutions. But the other one that's been getting a lot of traction is our credit exchange. So we've got about 30,000 advisors that are either implemented or in the process of implementing our credit exchange services. And that really allows the advisor to help, be that one-stop shop for the client. So not only just income protection or insurance, but also when the client needs to take a loan, whether it's for a house or for some, personal purchase, or just because they need the income or they need, the funds to be able to kind of get through to the next place, advisors can offer that kind of directly as a part of the solutions that they offer as well there. So those two have really been gaining traction in the marketplace for us.
And when it comes to the exchanges, and I guess the credit exchange in particular, and loans and things like that, but also insurance, the advisors, is it really sort of a self-serve thing for the advisors, or what are they interacting with professionals that are, more insurance professionals there to help them make decisions, or what product might be right? Is it more just the advisor, or a little both?
Yeah, I mean, it depends a little bit on the advisor and their licensing or their kind of ability to provide that. But what we really think most about is the technology. I mean, Envestnet's a technology provider. So we think a lot about how to make it as seamless as possible for the advisor to do it within either an advisor portal or to be able to communicate out through a client portal as well. So, there are cases where the advisor is licensed and providing insurance. And so what we're delivering is an all-in-one technology to them. And then there are other cases where, they are leveraging other professionals, but to the client, which is what we're all kind of thinking most about, is the client having kind of that seamless, they know their advisor. So it really provides the advisor to kind of provide all of the services that the client might need through that one offering, whether or not they're leveraging other professionals as well. So I think it really, we see it as a way for the client to retain, for the advisor to retain the client, and then also potentially the generations beyond the client. And that's where those trust services, that newer exchange that we've been talking a lot about, that's something that the more the advisor can help the client think beyond just their immediate wealth and start thinking about wealth transfer and ensuring that whatever happens to them, their kids or their grandkids are going to be protected. That's the other place that we've been really kind of thinking a lot about helping the advisor keep
Well,
the client.
that raises two questions for me. When it comes to the credit exchanges, the banking like features, and I think it was in December, or maybe it was the fall anyway, that you guys announced a partnership with someone else who's sort of allowing advisors to do banking sort of in the way that there are various other platforms out there that are working it out so advisors can offer all kinds of banking like services to their clients.
Yeah.
How has that gone? And there was, I'm not remembering that incorrectly, am I, that you guys did?
No, and maybe more recently too, we announced the acquisition of Harvest.
Yes.
So Harvest has been important for us in two ways. One is that it provides the ability for us to offer digital account opening, which maybe we can talk about that also. Yeah. But also the idea of like micro savings and helping clients, advisors being able to help clients kind of use cash most effectively, be able to leverage the cash that they have and earn interest on it and kind of provide those solutions as well. So I think we're most excited about that most recent acquisition and how it can help advisors in those two ways.
there was a lot of talk early on about sort of in this way, holding on to clients, and part of the offering being reaching out to the younger generations. How does Envestnet view that from a, the early way this was looked at was roll out a robo advisor for those clients. Like you still want to maintain the relationship with the higher net worth, but not invest a lot of the same time simply because the efficiency doesn't allow it. For the younger generation, they also don't have as many assets or the need for as much management of those assets. So where does Envestnet feel about that, and not just now, but sort of looking to the future?
Yeah, I think we most commonly talk about it like a hybrid advisor client solution. So even when it is that next generation, I think we still see the advisor playing a role. The role just might be less. So we've been working on a new client portal, which we really see as not only the advisor engaging an ultra high net worth or high net worth client, but also going out to that client's children or to investors who maybe don't have as many assets yet. But we see, so it, the way we see it being delivered is that advice can be either, full service where the advisor is doing most of it, maybe at some point, hopefully sitting across the desk from the client again.
Right.
But then in other cases, being able to do it much more digitally and do it in a collaborative way that involves, the advisor having a portal or a tool that they use, and then also the client having a digital engagement tool as well. And I think that ends up being most effective when, we can provide something that provides the client an entire picture of their full, financial life. And whether that's an ultra high net worth client, and within the client portal, you're showing them things about their estate plan and their wealth transfer and their money guide financial plan. But also if it's a younger client or a client who's just starting out, money guide blocks capabilities are a way for an end consumer or a client or a younger client to just kind of start to think about and educate themselves about their finances and their financial life. So I think that's, we see the advisor, or our goal is to empower the advisor to interact with the client in lots of different ways. So I don't think, we don't think a lot about like a true robo where there's no advisor involved. We think a lot more about helping the advisor engage digitally so that you can serve that client that's maybe not ready for a full service or doesn't need as high touch.
And with blocks, and I think it used to be called, at least when it first launched, My Blocks.
My Blocks,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, the advisor's typically sharing, so they would have a conversation with the client, I guess most likely the parents of that younger person, if that's the case, and some of the newer modules that will allow for interacting in terms of teaching them a little bit about planning at a younger age. Would they just be sharing that as sort of a DIY experience directly with what would be with the parent, or often with the children themselves? What are you guys? I was curious what you guys are seeing from that standpoint. If you can see that granularity in your own analytics, anyway.
Yeah, no, we're definitely seeing, parents or sort of the main client wanting to give My Blocks as a tool to their children or to other family members who are just starting to engage. But then the advisor has access to some of the data that can be collected as a part of those block experiences. I mean, some of them are educational, which I think is also a passion of Envestnet. We think a lot about providing education to giving advisors the ability to provide education to their clients and their clients' children. So, the advisor is then able to gain a little bit of information about, that the client and the client's children, and then use that as a way to help inform how the advisor can best provide advice to the client. So we've seen it in lots of ways, but I think that's one way where we've definitely seen advisors and clients want to deploy the portal.
I'm curious too, how are you guys marketing the portal? Because I think the first time I remember 10 years ago hearing about a portal from an advisor standpoint was eMoney's portal. I know they've been around for a long time. Are you guys calling it a different thing, or how do you sort of avoiding advisor fatigue over the idea of portals and many portals not being highly used, or at least originally envisioned?
Yeah, so I mean, we call it the client portal, but lots of our broker-dealer clients or RIA clients decide to name it whatever they want. I mean, I think that's something that's always been really important to Envestnet, where we are a white label application. So the advisor wants to call it something that's really meaningful to them, they can certainly do that. What's most important to us is that we bring together all of what Envestnet has to offer and also what we can provide through an integrated solution that's one stop for clients. So, what we're really trying to avoid, and I think what causes more portal fatigue, is the client having to log into multiple applications. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
it's really hard to explain to a client, well, if you want this statement, you've got to go log in here. But then if you want to look at your financial plan, you log into this other application. And I think that contributed to the fatigue. So I think our hope is that we can sort of overcome the fatigue if we provide that, single view, one place that the client logs in, can collaborate with their advisor, can access information, can do data aggregation and create budgets and, see the status of their financial plan. I think that's really our overarching goal.
Are there any particular technologies that, not to put you on the spot with this, but I'm always curious from a technology perspective. Portals have been around a long time, and all portals aren't created equally. But I'm curious, have there been some enabling technologies in particular over the last few years that allow, single sign-on for one thing, but the aggregation of all the features there in one place?
I think it's been just the modernization of APIs and API stores and the ability for firms like Envestnet to integrate with other applications. I think that's been kind of a core development over the last few years. I also think that clients' appetite for doing data aggregation so that they're bringing in all of their outside assets. So it may not just be the investment accounts that the advisor is advising on, but they're bringing in their credit card accounts. And I think there's kind of just a greater willingness for clients to do that because we're also used to, engaging digitally and shopping online. And so I think that those two things together have really kind of paved the path or created the runway for us to provide this all-in-one portal that can be all of those things. I think in the past it was harder, it was easier just to provide different solutions. And now I think bringing everything together in a modern user interface that's powered by APIs is just much more feasible than it ever has been in the past.
And how is account aggregation setting that up? I assume is that embedded within the portal too?
It is, yeah.
And that's become, go ahead.
Yeah, the client really, sees everything as a single offering. So they're able to do data aggregation by, entering their credentials. They see their money guide plan. They're able to view their insurance accounts or the accounts that we've delivered or the lending accounts that they have through the ACE credit exchange. It's really, one seamless experience to the end client.
Okay. ESG and impact investing we've seen over the last year has become increasingly important. What's Envestnet doing along those lines?
Yeah, so, just maybe thematically, we've been focused on personalization. And I think ESG or impact investing is a component of personalized services that the advisor can provide to the client. So we're working on a new initiative that will deeply embed ESG capabilities into our investment proposal process. So either the advisor or the client can go through an interactive process of identifying what's important to them. So whether it's social or environmental concerns, the client can communicate those, and then that really kind of forms the types of investments that the advisor will propose to the client. And so, that is a very important initiative, something that we're working hard on that we'll be rolling out. And I think that is a part of our investment proposal. We really see like everything starts with the financial plan, but then it feeds into a personalized investment proposal that the advisor can create for the client. ESG and impact is a really important part of that, but we also think about, tax sensitivity that the client might have or other situations that the client might be in that could be needing insurance or that could be needing credit. And so that all kind of comes together within this new next generation investment proposal that we've been working on.
Have you guys seen an uptake in requests for impact investing and discussion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the number one question that we've been getting lately from our, broker dealer firms and from our advisors. I think that clients have started to think a lot more about the impact of their investments and about the legacy that they're leaving behind. And ESG is kind of an obvious way to start to incorporate that into how the advisor can help the client feel like, they're kind of living their financial life in accordance with their values as well.
You guys get a sense demographically if those conversations and requests are coming from particular demographic age group versus another?
Yeah, so I think it's talked a lot about, millennials being sort of at the forefront of that demand. We also see it with clients that have higher net worth. I think wanting that to be a part of their legacy seems to be a theme that we're seeing as well. So as advisors come to us and our firms come to us and say this is really important, it's often because some of their larger clients or their higher net worth clients are saying, I want to invest in a specific way. And I want my investments to be tailored to the way that I see the world. And so I think it's actually not just millennials, but I think it's pretty across the board.
And a lot of it, I think, due to some of the early volatility when the pandemic and the lockdown first happened. What is Envestnet working on when it comes to sort of tax overlays and increasing tax efficiency? I suspect that you're probably getting a lot of questions from advisors about that as well.
Yeah, so tax overlay is definitely an important initiative for us. So we kind of see, I think I mentioned this early on, but the way that we've tried to be responsive to some of the concerns that have come up as a part of the pandemic is definitely in the form of tax overlay and thinking about what the client needs, and then also, providing income protection and being able to help clients think about what they'll do or how they'll get through a bump in the road when it comes to their finances. So those two, I think, have definitely been the uptick that we've seen. Those two plus, I think we're all feeling in the financial services technology space, the demand for increased digital collaboration and the ability to work with, for the advisor to work with the client in ways other than being able to sit across the table. So those have all, I think, for Envestnet been really important outcomes of the pandemic. And then I think also just starting to think, for us, thinking more broadly about, we talked about younger clients who maybe don't have as much money. We think about how to start to help those clients understand more about their financial life. I mean, I think a lot of the impact of COVID was that people who maybe, don't have an advisor or didn't have the benefit of a lot of financial knowledge, probably were hit the hardest. And so, My Blocks is one way where we can kind of help the advisor provide educational content to somebody who's not totally ready to be, fully advised yet. But I think that's another element that we've seen an uptake in as a result of the pandemic. Those have all kind of come together for us and things that we're focusing on the technology side.
Have you guys seen a big demand? And I know you were working sort of in partnership with Edmund Walters of Fry's Labs, coming out with an estate planning technology. How has that come to fruition, and what's the demand level on that? And has it changed a lot over the course of the pandemic? You mentioned trust accounts and things, but estate planning too. I'm wondering if that's seen a big increase over the course of the pandemic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we acquired that technology that Edmund helped us deliver, and it's now a part of our overall money guide offering. And it's definitely been something that we've seen a lot of excitement about as we're, starting to roll that out into the marketplace. I think it's resonated with, most of the people that we've shown it to, and the ability for the advisor to be able to help the client, create an effective estate plan, but then also to help the client see it visually and see how wealth will transfer from one generation to the next and to the next. And then also, what might happen in different scenarios. So if, what if we hit another market downturn? What will that mean for, my next generations? That's all really resonated, and we've seen a ton of excitement about that, definitely. And we see it as a part of our advisor experience, but also as something that, we can display out to the client so that they have it at their fingertips in the client portal as well.
What are some of the things that you kind of fear out there, or things that you're keeping a close eye on in the wealth management space? preparing
Yeah,
for?
I mean, everyone talks about what happens when Google and Amazon enter our space, and it's it's definitely just an amount of time before they do, and they make little steps into our space for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's something that we think about as technology providers. I think advisors think about as well. What I think about is that I've talked a lot in the last 20 minutes about personalization and that touch that the advisor has that can't be replicated just by technology alone. And so that's where we spend a lot of our time thinking about how to make sure that the advisor is able to provide that kind of personalized either investment advice or I think that maybe another result of the pandemic is that advisors have seen their role in reassuring their clients that they're going to be okay, or when the client has questions about what might happen and will I be okay, that the advisor, that's something that's hard to replicate in a big, huge data provider. I think that that's something that advisors are uniquely positioned to do. So Envestnet thinks a lot about making sure that they have the technology at their fingertips so that they can do that. But I think we're all probably a little bit nervous about when those players enter the marketplace.
Well, have you got any calls from Walmart on that front?
Not yet. Good question, though.
Well, we've all been wondering. We've all been wondering where that's going to go and what form it's going to take, and yeah. Well, along those lines, there's been an awful lot of consolidation in the industry and firms doing M&A to try and become. We even heard this Envestnet killers in the headlines, on and on. How do you view that? How are you guys planning to stay ahead in the game?
Well, I think we have an ecosystem that's hard to replicate. I mean, at this point, we really have everything. We kind of are a one-stop shop for advisors. So that's difficult to replicate. And I think that gives us some breathing room to then also be able to think about innovation and what advisors might need next. People talk a lot about crypto. I think we're in a position where we can kind of add that into our overall ecosystem, and then it becomes another tool that the advisor has at their disposal to personalize and provide what the investor is going to ask them for. So I almost think that the fact that we've already kind of got the ecosystem developed lets us then focus on innovation and start to think about how to be competitive if Walmart gets out there and is in the industry. So I think that we have the breadth of our tool set is something that can really enable advisors to focus on their clients, and if we continue to innovate, it'll kind of keep them at the cutting edge while other players might be trying to catch up.
Got it. I guess you guys were probably watching pretty closely with the Coinbase IPO, what happened there, and well, yeah. We're going to leave a few minutes. We got about 6 minutes left. I wanted to leave a few minutes for Q&A here. No, I see we've already gotten one question in, though it's pretty close to what we just discussed. But let's see what there's any other areas of innovation you can talk about. Because the question is, with so many platforms in the space, do you think there is still room for technological innovation? If so, where? You brought up a lot of areas where you guys are doing things and providing innovation, but what other areas are there, green spaces there that we haven't discussed? Crypto is sort of one that everyone wonders about, and how serious the world is eventually going to be. What else is there?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think innovation is going to come from us being in the places that the advisor and the client need us to be. So, I think this kind of continued progress around ease of integration means that we, of course, want advisors to be using our portal, and whether it's the advisor portal or the client portal, but it also means that we can kind of meet the client wherever they might be. So we can be integrated into other applications and can, be a part of a client's financial life in a more impactful way. So I think innovation will come certainly from things like crypto, and certainly from things like, the pandemic has fast forwarded some of our digital collaboration capabilities, but I think it'll also be just about financial wellness being more present in the client's everyday activities. I think there's space there still for firms like Envestnet, just not just Envestnet, but certainly for kind of the broad set of financial services technology firms to be innovative and to be where the client needs them to be to help with that overall goal of financial wellness.
Where do you think, what are you hearing from advisors in terms of, will there be a return to regular in-person client meetings, or do you get the sense from what you have discussed and or heard, and you guys have even had did you guys have I can't remember, virtual summit yourself?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
Virtual last year, yeah.
Okay. What are you seeing? Well, both what is your thoughts on that, and what are advisors asking you guys about, or what signals are you getting from advisors in terms of whether they think it's going to go back to the way it was, a hybrid of it all, or just really staying all virtual?
Yeah, I would say consistently we get the hybrid. I think that, we hear from a lot of advisors that they're really hoping they go back to in-person. I think that that's something that that is missed. But I also think that the expectation is that the client has a different idea of how they engage, and that is not going to change. We're not going to get out of needing to bring at the client's fingertips everything that they want to see, whenever they want to see it, 24 hours a day. I don't think that there's any turning back from that. I think advisors, and what we hear is that they hope that we get back to a place where they can kind of add additional touch points to that by being able to meet in person, and by having that at least be an option. But I don't think there's any turning back from the place that we've gotten, which is much more digital engagement, much more at your fingertips information, definitely.
Are there any things we haven't talked about that you have imminently on the horizon, or things you can hint at for advisors coming along?
We've, in addition to everything that we've talked about, I think we're really focused on making sure that the tools that the advisor uses, we've talked a lot about client engagement, but we're also really focused on the trading tools that we offer to our advisors. We're redesigning the workflows, making sure that they're able to scale. I think that's another place where, we spend a lot of time making sure that advisors are able to scale their practice and use technology effectively. The investment proposal is another area. We've been talking a lot about next generation trading, next generation proposal. And because of all of these acquisitions that we've done, we're bringing it all together in one experience that the advisor can use that really is, like I said before, kind of delivering that entire ecosystem. So, that's really where we're spending our time.
Is CRM becoming less important, sort of as the central hub around which everything else runs?
No, we definitely... No, CRM continues to be a really important component. We've intentionally been very open when it comes to CRM, so that we're integrating with whatever CRM provider the client the advisor or the firm has chosen to use, and that kind of enhanced ability to integrate because of modern APIs and our developer portals and things like that has made it easier to do so. But CRM is still definitely an important part.
Got it. Well, Molly, we're rapidly coming to the end of our time today, but I really want to thank you for visiting with us and telling us a lot more about what Envestnet's up to.
Thank you, Davis.
Thank you.